So we gotta discuss this Avatar thing before anybody signs it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
I was just speaking at you.
Maybe you hope your Betsy.
And so, okay. Okay,
How are you?
Good.
Good.
and is this just for reading, or?
It's just for your information, so you know what's happening in town, putting in a big storage container.
I got you, okay. Well, I'm gonna make a motion, it's 5 o'clock, this meeting, come to order. We'll do the pledge of allegiance first. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's see the agenda here. We got payroll and vendor checks. Have you guys had a chance to review the minutes from last? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, you're comfortable with everything?
Yep.
Okay. That's done.
You want a motion to approve them, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, they can make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And, you notice, November elections are gonna be from 8 to 7 on the 3rd of November, and we're signing off on this.
At the school, Mr.
At the
Chairman?
school.
Assuming that we're gonna have similar protocols as the voting.
Yeah, I thought the last election went pretty good. Everybody seemed to be on target. All the voters coming in seemed to pay attention to the rules.
We had 2 or 3 that wanted to go around the back, and that worked out well. I mean,
Yeah.
Steve came over, Mr. Moderator came over and accommodated him very well, so.
Yeah,
But I was doing the front door, and not one person went around, so maybe the demeanor changed.
Well, they waited till you left.
I'm more inviting.
Any comments on the voting? I thought it went pretty smooth.
I thought it went well as well.
And I thought that, the counting afterward was pretty efficient. The observers that came were respectful, they kept their distance, they weren't obstruction.
Mr. Chairman, just to remind you, I'm not gonna be there because my name appears on the ballot and it's contested. I mean, I'll go in to vote, but I can't be
I understand,
in the voting venue.
I understand.
Thank you.
Any additions or subtractions that we should do? No, anything on the voting?
I will admit I didn't go to primary voting, but I know in past votings that people have been very close together. I'm assuming there's gonna be 6-foot distance or availability of 6 foot
Yeah, they
distance.
had, everybody, that's what I meant when I said a lot of the voters were respectful, everybody kept their distance,
Ask.
mask, and this plexiglass.
Okay, will masks be available if people need them?
Yes. And hand sanitizers on the front table just as you come in. I mean, if he's gonna do it the same way we did it in the primary, yeah.
Steve called me up and I said, I thought it went great, I don't see any reason to reinvent it.
Sounds good.
Thank you for the input.
Plonzik and Sanderson letter. Okay. Have you guys had a chance to read this?
I didn't have a chance to get all the way through that one.
Wendy, do you want to make any comments on
I
that?
can just summarize it for you.
Yeah.
It's just
I just
that
got a
all the things, when they came in to do the audit, it's saying that we gave them all the things that they needed to perform the audit. And it goes into a lot of weird detail.
There's a lot of verbiage in here.
Yes, it's just over redundant, but that's basically what it says, is that we cooperated with them we gave them everything they needed and they were able to do a successful audit.
Because last time they had a few things they asked you for, right? And then this
That-
is just a follow-up of that?
Yeah, and that letter I emailed to you, they summarized that, I just emailed it today. And that's also a 3-page letter, it says draft across it, that they're basically, and I wrote to you in the email that this is basically what I went over at the meeting of the findings that they had, that they wrote a formal letter. So
Okay.
you can read it and we'll talk about it next week. Next meeting.
I got the sense they were happy with it.
Yeah, yeah, they were definitely happy.
Yeah. So,
I just think the provision in there about when people appeal their assessment, that they will be there with us. That's very, very important, because when I represented a town down south of New Hampshire in the past, it's just so important to have the expert witness there, and
so they're the arbitrator kind of thing.
they're not arbitrary, no, because this is when we go in front of the tax and land appeal court at the state, and, you know, go down to Concord, and that's pretty interesting, to have those 4 or 5 folks sitting over there making the decision.
I don't think that's the auditor, that's the assessor.
But I think they mentioned in that, in the long letter that you got, that they talked
If
about
we
helping
need-
out with
if-
that.
I think it's part of their contract, if we need them, then it's a separate hourly base, hourly charge.
Okay. Okay, that's important that they're willing to do that.
Thank you. 2 veterans tax credits, Sean and Katie Leone. They have their DD 214 and everything here.
Yes, those have been approved by Avatar.
So that's,
I didn't wanna give you all kinds of extra stuff to read, but here's the letter approving.
no, I
it
can,
from
as soon as you
Avatar.
see this,
Yeah.
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 Okay. And, so do we need to, yeah.
Yeah, there is.
All of you need to sign them.
That's on here. Oh, no,
Sign
print over here.
And then the next one was Lena Mae Williams, David Williams' wife. And she had her DD 214 here. Did Avatar okay this?
Yes, for both.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I only signed on one place on this one. This
Okay.
is the,
Yes, we just need one place.
the Leon.
Where's this, right here? No, no. Excuse me, sorry. Here, you got one more sign. Yep. And then the reevaluation update agreement is next.
Mhm.
You're comfortable with everything in it?
Yes, I'll explain it to all of you.
Yep.
We, every 5 years, we're required to have a reevaluation of all the properties in town. And Avatar does that for us. This is, next year is the 5th year of their 5-year contract. We pay approximately $17,000 each year just to have them update the records and do their monthly thing. This year, next year, 2021, the contract is the $39,900, and that's to do the full evaluation, re-evaluation. We do have that money in capital reserves, and back a year or 2 ago when Morgan was on the board, because it was her writing, was to, that's what they suggested using, was the capital reserve, so, to cover that.
Okay.
So,
So it doesn't need to go,
contract is good.
it doesn't need to go as a warrant article or anything?
Yes, it will need to be a warrant article.
To pull it
So,
out of capital.
yeah, to pull it out of capital.
Capital, okay, I'm just
Yeah.
making sure.
Yeah.
It was an informational question for me, not.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, do we?
Question. Yeah, is this
Question.
something,
I'm sorry.
is this part of the regular purchasing policy as far as having to get quotes, or is this something that
Oh,
we
no,
can
no, no, we
just?
have a 5-year agreement with Avatar.
And this is just
And this is just the 5th year that there's that additional amount, and that's stated in their original agreement.
okay, so we're under a current contract.
Yeah. And I also,
It's
You'll
double,
have to-
it's double the price because they gotta do
the
the.
full
Yeah,
evaluation.
okay.
Okay.
In 2022, I guess, or the end of 2021, if there are other service companies out there that do this kind of thing, I know I think Avatar pretty much has the market.
Yeah, they do a lot.
I don't know,
You want to put the date in this?
Yeah.
and you just need to send the talk after that.
Just don't, because you're gonna witness that. That's my signature on there.
Oh, yes, I can witness it, but the bottom is if we require bonding, we don't.
The Baker River, next topic is the Baker River water testing results from 9/21. Does it, we already did this last time, didn't we?
They get tested every month.
Every-
This was the September 22nd
Okay.
testing. And there's something new on that, it's the coliform counts. Coliform, I understand, is a
It's a gram negative.
residual bacteria that comes from E. coli. So our E. coli rates are really low, if you look at them.
Right.
They're very, very low. And the coliform, she never got back to me.
E. coli is the bacteria. The
Right, and the
coliform
coliform
is
is
E.
the-
coli with a coating around it. That's all it is.
Oh, is that what it is? Because I inquired about, what is this? You've never given us these counts before, and is it something we have to worry about?
Mhm.
Where does it come from? And she never got back to me yet.
E. coli is the bacteria, and it's usually fecal material that causes it.
Okay.
And coliforms are just, that's another, I mean, it's, E. coli is part of the coliform family.
Oh, okay.
If I may, I'm on the board of the Baker River Watershed. So one of the things that's different now is the association has purchased its own water testing equipment.
Mhm.
So I think September was the first month we were doing it ourselves. And so Dr. Donner from PSU may have found, a couple of other things that can be done. Because prior to that, the testing was done down at the state labs down in Concord. So, the state.
Turnout was a lot longer.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so, and we're able to do, and the Watershed Association is able to do a little bit cheaper than what the state was charging us. Plus, we don't have to take, an hour and a half to drive to Concord and drive back, so it's,
Do you want us to initial this?
No, it's just informational to
Okay.
announce to people, and I had already sent it off to a few concerned citizens.
I'm surprised the counts were so low with the river being so low. It hasn't
Yeah.
been hot, but with the water being lower, you would think it would be higher.
Yeah, I would think so too.
but there haven't been I don't think there's been as many people swimming. I mean,
No.
the school started probably
Where we were.
in mid-September and, we've had some water, we've had some rain, not a lot, but I think we've had a little bit. Yeah, we've had some rain in the level. So,
Our fields are not doing well. Paul, this is the North Country Council.
Yep,
It's a letter to you. from
Yeah.
them.
yep.
What's your thoughts on it?
No, we don't. We can't get any funding through them for that because it's not a state-used bridge.
Okay.
Even though I did call and I tried my hardest to push and push because when 25 is shut down, we still use that bridge
Yeah.
and it's not gonna happen.
It's not far from the DOT shed. They come in that way sometimes.
It's not gonna happen. I've tried. I mean, you guys are more than welcome to, we can write a letter to the governor or somebody else, but I've made many phone calls and it is not gonna happen. We are gonna suck it up. I have a bad feeling. I mean, I'm still open to options and I'm still looking, but they shut us down. I talked to two people I talked to Paul Hatch actually. He's like, best thing we can hope for is we get a flood and it washes out and then it'll be replaced.
That's sad, but that's the government's answer.
Well, no, I mean, that's the, sorry, that's pretty much.
Did you talk with Executive Counselor Cryans?
No, I have not. I talked
Because,
to.
I mean, the Executive Council, you know, they have a lot of power.
Yeah,
Right? Because, you know, it only takes 3 of them to appoint, you know, some of these people and approve the budget. I mean, the governor may nominate somebody, but it's the approval of the council that is what makes something effective. So, and our counselor in this district is Counselor Cryans, Michael Cryans. So I really suggest you touch base with him and see what you can get. And the worst he can say is, gee, you know, again, the other responses that you've gotten, but at least,
no, I hear you. I mean, we got to keep pushing forward with something until it's time to do something with the bridge. We have a couple of years, I think.
You know what, Paul, his phone number,
I have his phone number actually.
oh, thank you, because it's somewhere in this book.
Michael Cryans, is that who you're asking?
Michael Cryans, yes.
Yeah, I have his phone number.
Okay, just talk to him first, and if you have issues with it, just give me a holler and I'll talk to him. Okay. Do you want me to can I give him this to,
Yeah.
I've got a copy.
you got a copy?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The other question on the East Side Bridge, let's see, when are we gonna get the results of that new study?
I don't know. That was put on Jordan.
Oh,
Yeah, I checked in with him after last meeting about the bridges and that, and he said that they were working on it. They did not give me a time frame.
Last time it was 6 weeks or so, at least.
It's probably been that, but they're,
I mean, if we identified this as a problem, we definitely should post it, or just for liability. Okay, and we'll use the data from that to post the weight limit. and stuff.
yep, I'll check in with him again this week about that specifically. Last time I talked to him, he did not have an update. He did though quickly for am I on for the bridges at any point? We're on. I just talked, it's real quick, for HEB, I talked to Chris Fournier, and he said that there was, last time we were wondering if they needed to come in and discuss which bridges or which type of bridge we were going to do. He said that DES, there was some, and I'm not even gonna try to explain it, there was some paperwork process that he had to do with them to see if we even have the option for one of those bridges. So once he's done with them, that's gonna almost determine what we can do. And then he's going to set up a meeting to come in and go over all of this. So we're still waiting on that, but he was dealing with DES first.
Does he have a time estimate on that?
Relatively soon. He was dealing with it relatively soon, and he
Okay.
said, I think within a few weeks, I think, was the talk of maybe coming
Okay.
in
That's
to
good.
choose the style of bridge. But pretty much whatever DES says we're gonna be able to do is what we're gonna do.
It's either gonna be a box bridge or a curved bridge, as I understand it.
Yeah, with those precast,
Yeah.
yeah, something like that.
as long as we're using state or federal money, you know, they're gonna be calling most of the shots, and we're just,
If we get 2 options, we'll be lucky. We're probably gonna get 1.
again, unless we build it ourselves, but anyway, that's another
Okay,
story for the day.
Paul, you're the contractor of road salt. This is,
Yeah, I'm asking to use Granite State Minerals, even though they didn't get the state bid. They're cheaper.
they're cheaper than the
Yeah,
state?
they are cheaper than Morton or Cargill. So I'm asking if we can use them. I think they're about $4 or $5 cheaper a ton than Morton.
Really?
Yep.
Does that include like delivery or truck?
Yep. It's $57.04 a ton, I believe, delivered to that. So.
Okay.
Yep. I just need you to okay it so I can sign it and have Linda send it back or email it back or whatever. Or you can sign it, that's fine too. Your evening's better than mine.
No,
Yeah, it just needs rinsing.
Wonder why they didn't
no,
get it.
it's just, but this is enough salt to get you through the winter,
Well, that's just per ton. I have
or?
plenty
Oh,
of
this is
money.
the rate, okay.
Yep, I have plenty of money in my budget.
Yes, okay.
So this is just to use them.
It's just so you guys, when you see a bill, it's, you signed off saying you gave me the okay to use them.
Right.
Because we typically go through about $8,000 to $10,000 to $12,000 a year in salt.
I almost think it'd be more expensive than that with how long winter is.
It used to be like 70 some odd dollars a ton. It's gone way down in the last few
So
years.
it's heavy.
Is there salt coming out of Portsmouth as well?
Granite State Mineral Salt comes out of Portsmouth.
Okay.
Yep. They're the only one that comes out of Portsmouth.
Okay. As far as things that have been going on locally, the planning board has brought up issues about the number of properties that are being purchased in town and converted to camps. And they had the health inspector into their meeting last night to talk about the proper disposal of sewage and stuff like that. And they're addressing a plan. I had a cursory conversation with the governor today, and Homer was there. And it was the feeling of the planning board that the state superseded the local laws. And what Sununu said was that the local criteria that you establish in the town supersedes the state. So the planning board, and I sent an email to John Mead to let him know that they gotta get together a plan for this new development and submit it to us. Okay.
Makes sense?
Also, Mr. Chairman, as part of the planning board discussion last night, is, if there's a need to have some legislative changes made, the window for getting new legislation in, is getting narrower and narrower, because most of any new legislation, I know we gotta wait until after the 3rd of November to see who our legislative reps are gonna be, but,
That's a good
the
point.
window closes pretty quickly after the 10th of December
Right.
for getting legislation in.
What I'll do is I'll put that in email form tonight and get that over to John Mead.
Oh, he knows that, because we did discuss
you
that
did?
last night.
Okay.
We did
Because-
discuss that last night, yeah.
Right now, we've got somebody's ear, we might as well take advantage of it.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's developing the process.
Was there a suggestion on what you might change?
Well, no, because he wasn't aware of all the rules, so he needed to go back to Concord to talk to people and figure out what that is, and then he's gonna email me with he was talking off the top of his head.
Yep.
And he needed to go back and read the RSA on this. And then once he read that RSA, he'd be able to guide me a little better. But now that I know we have an endpoint of December 10th.
Well, somewhere in that
Yeah.
area, Mr.
I
Chairman.
mean, we can't sit on our butts, we just gotta move.
So we can approve some type of a town ordinance that changes how that is taxed within town? I'm just,
This isn't taxes, this is regulation for health.
The part
Right.
of interrupting.
Yeah, no, you're not interrupted.
The health officer and I actually had a conversation about this over the weekend.
Oh, good.
And from my understanding, the problem is that there's a piece of property that somebody wants to buy, and they want to put 5 campers on it, and they're worried about waste disposal. And they're trying to come up with a proper plan so that we're not dealing with runoff and we're not dealing with issues beyond
Right.
that. And that's what you need to come up with new legislation for, and new town laws about, because they're kind of,
I feel like though, isn't that a DES problem? They either have, if you have a camper, you either have it pumped and it's not a big deal, or if you're gonna have permanent structures piped into something, then they have to have an approved septic of some type.
That's the
state
problem.
law.
That's the problem.
It's the
But that's not a
definition.
town thing.
It can't, part of the discussion is what the new accessory dwelling unit law is all about. And, the mother-in-law apartment that's added to the house that you can do now without getting any planning board or zoning approval because of the change in the statute. And then, a camper, most of the campers are smaller than 400 square feet. And so they may be exempt from some of this stuff. And, you know, we do have a motto here, live free or die. And so people don't like, you know, that's why they're coming here, is because they can do a lot of stuff. And being responsible neighbors doesn't always happen. And, you know, the proper thing is you have a proper place to dispose of that waste.
Right.
And, you know, campers, you know, do have tanks to hold it and then they can pump it out.
Right.
But some people are not.
Compliant.
But if that were.
They're not responsible, Mr. Chairman. And so they just dump it.
If-
Dump it in the yard. And then they
That's
move their
illegal.
camper 50 feet away.
That's illegal anyways, so I'm not sure what the law change is.
Jordan, you're right,
But,
but the law gives chief something to deal with if people are doing it. And number one, and number two, for Rebecca, she can go to these sites and say, okay, do you have a fixed sewage system? I think what the planning board's gotta do is define a true mobile camper versus the camper that's got a porch,
Yes.
a shed, and everything attached
So-
to it. That's a fixed structure, right?
So I'm gonna
Keep
just
up
speak
first.
to that real fast.
Okay.
Holderness ran into this about 10 years ago, because they had a campground that was seasonal. And it states, Holderness didn't change any laws, it's a state. And a mobile home or a mobile camper is anything you can back up to and drive off with.
Right.
It doesn't matter how many there are per acre, it doesn't matter.
I understand that, but as soon
So
as
you're asking the planning board to take that under consideration, even if somebody has more than one camper. I mean, because these places have sheds and they're built around them and everything, but you can still drive out from under them. And you know what I mean? I mean, they literally build over the top of these campers and they can pull a camper
Well,
out
I
and the
understand
structure
that.
still sits there.
I understand that.
That structure is taxable, but the camper's not.
but that's why we're
That's
gonna,
right.
excuse me,
That's
that's
what
why
I'm
the
saying.
planning board is looking at the whole thing to see if we need to have some statutory changes. That's what this is all about, is coming up with a plan, that the chairman of the planning board, Marina,
Yeah.
is gonna be coming up with things, working with John. And, I think she's also gonna, talk with, legal counsel,
Yeah.
on this issue. Excuse me, I don't mean to cut you off, but,
Okay, go ahead.
What I was gonna say
Thank you,
is,
thank
local ordinance, like with Rumney, if you have a porch, it is no longer a mobile structure.
Yeah, that's what I'm
It's
getting
septic.
at,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's what kind of reiterating what they just said, but
Yeah, I guess I just assumed that was the law anyways, maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I always understood it to be, that if you couldn't just back up and move it, if you have porches and stuff built on it, that's a permanent
That's a
structure. You have to actually move it out of there every year for it to not be permanent.
Right.
So am I understanding correctly when you said earlier that the governor said that the municipality, Wentworth, that their regulations supersede whatever the state?
That was his impression, but he was gonna go back to Concord and read the RSA. He believes strongly in local governance.
That's essentially a zoning issue, isn't it? I mean, zoning towns can come up with things that are separate of another town, you know, isn't that kind of?
but we don't have zoning in there.
No, I know that, I know.
Right.
I'm just
So
saying,
I-
isn't that kind of along the same line though?
It
It's,
is.
the town itself is making up the rule, it's not a state law, it doesn't apply everywhere, we're creating our own.
The state law for buildings is you gotta have state-approved sewage facilities for a fixed structure.
I get that.
The law is not so clear on mobile structures. And so, all he's asking us to do is send him an email with our recommendations on what we think the town should do, and he's gonna take it under review to see if he should apply that to the state. That was his request to us.
I would think that if the community like ours doesn't have zoning, then they would have to fall back on what the state law would be that governs.
Exactly,
Right.
yeah, this is a health issue. I know, it seems like zoning is a knee-jerk reflex in this town, one way or the other. And for me, we're looking at the coliform reports, we're trying to keep the town healthy. We can take part in doing this by having some rules. But thanks for your insight. I appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman, just to give you a heads up, just be advised, or give you a heads up, that the planning board feels that there will have to be something coming before the board of selectmen.
Yeah, I think whatever the plan is, you gotta come and get a vote.
Yeah.
No question. No question. Okay. Jeff, you're looking up at the ceiling.
No.
Okay.
No, just thinking,
Say again?
just thinking.
Oh my God. Okay, Wally, you're up.
Sure. So, quick review from the last couple of weeks. Obviously, we're staying updated on the COVID-19 concerns and their changes on a daily basis. The governor's doing a great job with letting the public know with his press conferences as well. As far as Wentworth PD itself and the community, we did a department assist for the Hampton Police Department, where I seized a handgun for them regarding an investigation that was being conducted. The handgun was seized without incident, and the involved parties thanked that this was very cooperative with us and with Hampton. The handgun's been returned to them, and Hampton PD will follow up with the investigation. I also served a stalking order, which was issued by the Plymouth District Court to another family in town. Per this order, I also took possession of several firearms, to include 1 handgun, 2 rifles, 2 shotguns, and numerous rounds of ammunition. Those of all parties were also very cooperative, and they were seized and are placed in our evidence room until the court decides what, if anything, is going to be done with them. Regarding the racetrack, I'm going to comment on that just briefly. We've had 2, 3, I think, different races since the last meeting. Those have gone relatively well. 2 weeks ago, we did have an incident down there, and Todd was working with me. Fortunately, him and I were able to take care of the issues in the pit. Nobody was arrested, nobody was assaulted, there were no criminal charges. We were able to handle it between him and I and the other 6 involved parties. So it was taken care of. This past weekend, Dan contacted me. I was not scheduled to work the race, as I had a prior family commitment. And Dan contacted me and let me know that there were going to be some extra modified vehicles, modified cars coming and racing. And he had heard through social media that there were going to be some problems. So I canceled my family plans. I went to the racetrack early. I attended the race driver meeting. The chief was there having my back. And we had a little father-son talk with all the players, let them know what the concerns were going to be. I told the chief I might need a 4-inch hose and have to have him open them up for me if I need be. But we went through the races with 3 officers, myself, Officer Todak, and Chief Semitakis from Warren, and we had absolutely no issues at all. So that goes to show the working rapport we have with those people as well as Dan.
I like the idea of how you're preemptively reading
Yeah.
potential
Yeah,
situations.
it's a half an hour before the races start, and if
This
there's
is way
any
too
issues,
fast. Yeah.
we address it quickly and effectively. I did receive a complaint from a Wentworth resident regarding the racetrack appearing to be louder than normal. They actually live up on Cheever Road, and they asked that I convey to the selectman and administrative assistant, which I'm doing right now, that the next meeting in 2021, when it comes time for the permit to be submitted and signed, they would like a notice to go out to the public so that anyone that may want to come in and voice a concern would be able to do so. Now, the night of the race that they had problems with the louder noise, we had a pretty significant wind issue that night, and I think that it was just carrying the sound up over Cheever Road. The only time we've had the complaint regarding this year, that's been brought to my attention anyways. But I assured them that I would let you know. The last thing I want to do is just to remind the selectmen that we're in October. This is Halloween, and usually the selectmen make a posting on when they want to have their Halloween celebration for the town, what day and what the times are. So,
Okay.
leaving that up to you.
You want an answer right now?
Nope. And the fire chief is a good one to check on for that, because
Well, last year,
those guys are usually at the fire department.
yeah, last year you had it at, in the school playground. And trick or treat?
Trunk or treat, yeah.
Right. That was a separate event,
Oh,
yes.
okay, so what,
Chief?
go ahead, tell me what you're looking for.
Basically, every year the selectmen have a decision as to when they want the trick-or-treaters out on the roads, et cetera. So that's usually left up to the select board.
The 31st is a Saturday.
Is it a full moon?
I think so.
Full moon, there you go.
There's a full
That's
moon.
decided.
Yep, that night.
Saturday night?
Police department is busy.
Yeah, I think if you got a full mood, good ambient light, to the 31st on a Saturday.
Okay. So what's
Do you
that
want
for
to do that
times?
with the COVID still? It's okay.
They wear masks and face.
Oh.
I think that's probably a personal choice for the parents. They're either gonna do it or not, based on whatever they wanna do.
Yeah.
Well,
And
we
you
might
can
have,
mention that.
we might have more people, than we have in previous years because Plymouth has canceled theirs. So, there's something to be aware of.
Yeah. Some communities are canceling them and doing an alternative,
Right.
Yeah.
personal, families or whatever, but,
Well, now,
I think the
I
trunk-
like that concept of the trunk or treat.
Yeah,
That was, the kids were safe, they were off the streets.
and they're still planning on trying to do something like that at the school, also utilizing the social distancing with vehicles and people and everyone is gonna be
Right.
part of that as well, so.
Would you guys,
So you could limit it to just that if you wanted to.
would you guys be comfortable to a trunk or treat?
good idea.
I haven't been involved in that particular
No, it's
activity for
it's
years.
pretty- I know, it's pretty nifty. You pull in with your car, open
Yep.
up your trunk.
I remember it last year.
Right, and,
Decorate.
yeah, the kids will try and circle around with different costumes to see how much candy they can beat you out of.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I love it, it's cool.
I don't know if I'm for canceling regular Halloween though. I think I would still do that if you people want to,
No, I don't think,
as a personal choice.
I think in this, we're a pretty rural environment, and I think the more things that we can keep normal, the better for people.
And I also want to say as well that, thank God, and I think it's because we're all doing a pretty good job here, Wentworth still is not on the board. We're still 0-0. So,
It's a matter of time, but, and I'm not trying
We'll
to
do
be
it.
negative.
We'll do
Yeah,
it.
Exactly, you do the best job you can. Andrew,
There's health guidelines out there, but giving people options, I think, is a really good idea. You know whether it's the trunk or
yeah, make
treating
it be, yeah.
or trick or treating on the 31st.
You can do both.
Yeah, exactly. Or
For the kids'
they
point
can
of
just
view, I
pick.
wanna do both.
Yeah, or they can just pick the trunk or treat if they want to do that. I don't know. Having options, I think, is a great idea.
Let me ask a question, on the school, they're gonna do their trunk or treat thing, do they have a set time they're gonna do it, or?
yeah, they'll post it.
Yeah.
Right now, they're still talking about what that's going to look like, what restrictions and how they're going to set it up.
Okay, so they're gonna
They're still
set that
looking
up.
at doing it,
I
yeah.
just don't wanna do the two things on the same date.
Well, they do it they usually do it on a school day.
School day in the afternoon.
So it would be like that Friday.
So I would say, make a motion to let Halloween go through on Saturday night, the 31st.
Until what time? What are the typical times? Like 5 to 8 or something? Or is it earlier than that? Is there usually a posted time?
5 to 8 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah,
You feel comfortable with that?
yeah.
Is this something we can make a little more visible? I know I'm a parent, and in previous years, trying to find what the trick or treat times for Wentworth were have been a little difficult.
Put it on the bulletin board, that'll go everywhere.
We can put it on the website.
Yeah.
You're right.
Put it on the
Um,
website.
Wait a minute, time out, did you get your question answered then? Okay, I don't look at the bulletin, it's how
I
we make sure.
I don't either, so that's why I was asking about visibility.
Okay, we'll make sure it's on that, okay.
The last 2 years, I've been at the fire department at the end of the night with the chief or whoever's been there, and usually by 8 o'clock, it's dark enough that they're
yeah.
pretty much done.
Mhm.
So I think 8 o'clock's a good cutoff time.
Yeah, 5 to 8. Okay,
Yep.
make it, anybody wanna say?
I will second the motion.
I vote yes.
Yes,
I
yes.
vote yes.
One follow-up question to the fire chief. Are you giving out candy from the fire station?
We do.
Yeah, give good candy.
Yeah.
Usually it's the candy that the firemen go around and take at the trunk or treat from the school, and then they give it out to families.
It is. That's exactly what it is. Because we all go up to the trunk or treat with the fire truck, so.
Right, right.
Oh,
So you went with the police car, and
Yes.
Martha was all dressed up in her stripes last
Yeah,
year.
there was a line of firemen at my cruiser going, getting candy.
Reese's peanut butter cups.
Oh,
Good one to
yeah.
remember.
It's fun, that's where, how old are your kids?
10, 11, or 10, 12, and 13.
Oh, yeah, good,
They're not quite little anymore.
yeah, no, right.
It's great public relations too.
Yeah.
Like the fire department and we've had the highway department there before and, you know, it's worked out great. The highway, the fire department, police department, the teachers.
Put the international to good use. I'm teasing. Okay. Oh, my God. Okay,
Me?
fire chief, yes, you're up.
Okay. So it's gonna be a little bit lengthy because we had a lot going on. So calls for service, we were told to respond to a third alarm building fire in Holderness. Our assignment at that point was a cover truck for Plymouth, and then we assisted with helping him get hose and so forth picked up. Then we had a mutual aid call, same day if I remember correctly, to the fallen hiker climber in Rumney Ledges. We had a crew hike in to assist with CPR and carry out on that. Then we ended up Saturday, I think it was that following Saturday or Sunday. Called to Orford for a cover truck as they were assisting Bradford, Vermont on a 4-alarm forest fire. Then we had a call mutual aid to Warren for a motor vehicle accident. And then just Sunday morning, we had a call to Hebron for a 3rd alarm building fire, and then they put us in as a cover truck on that. We've also completed our required yearly pump testing to ensure we meet the standards for the pumps, the gallons per minute, the flow, the pressures. Engine 1 came out good, engine 3 was good, engine 2, although passed, will in the future, probably in the next year or two, need pump repairs and partial rebuild. And I did get some pricing on that already, just to get some information. You're looking at anywhere from $6,000 to maybe $10,000 to get that.
That's usually seals that need to be. changed.
Seals, the impellers, the
Yeah.
bearings, some of that type of stuff, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so and they basically, they're gonna take that pump right out of the truck to do
Right.
so. So that would be something that, in the past, what I've done is put that on a separate warrant article, so it's not part of my budget. So we would hopefully do a separate warrant article for that, as it's needed, when it's needed.
Okay.
Right now, we're fine with it, like I said, it did pass the test, so. Training, Dan from the racetrack was again in need of water, and we assembled a crew on a Saturday morning with the help of Calder Construction out of Woodstock. He brought over a truck that held 5,000 gallons and didn't charge a dime, nothing, he just wanted to help us out and help the racetrack out, so we were filling his truck as well. We dumped 30,000 gallons of water into their pond down there that Saturday. So it allowed him to run. Without it, he wasn't going to be able to run. And it was good training, for the water shuttle, the pump operations and source operations, and a lot of the newer guys got a good feel for what needs to be done there. Personnel, we have outfitted our newer members with some hand-me-down turnout gear at this point, till we see how long they're gonna stay with us. And we're in the process of getting 2 new pages. They've been ordered, I have not seen them come in yet. The response from the fire members has been outstanding to all the calls that we have received. It's amazing what these guys are doing for this town, in this department.
You got a good team.
Yeah. Other correspondence, and this goes to the bulletin board.
Okay.
So what I do, I put stuff out on the fire department Facebook page. And I sometimes will cross-post that to the bulletin board and, what was the other one, Andy?
Wentworth, the news and views.
News and views.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to keep people informed of what
Right.
we're doing, what's going on.
I think that's really important.
Yeah. So, in that correspondence, I received a public complaint on the bulletin board, about how we were handling the drought conditions and supplying water to the racetrack. This particular individual felt it better priority for us to put water in people's wells than trying to keep the racetrack going. I responded with the fact that the business that we were helping out needed assistance and would not be able to run his business without aid. As well as his business pays taxes here in town, along with bringing in people who are spending monies within other businesses here in town, stores,
Right.
gas stations, etc. I also made it a point to explain the reasons why it's not a good idea to fill people's wells with the pond water and river water that's in our area. We're not out there to contaminate
Yeah, I was
people's
gonna
wells.
say, we just reviewed the
Yeah.
chloroform content from the river.
So in that post that I had written back to her, I had gave my phone number if she wanted to further discuss it. And I also said to, if she really had a problem, to make a complaint form out with the select board. So,
Yeah, that's appropriate.
and then she took her post down, I guess. And then the last thing I've got will be involved with a safety meeting at the school tomorrow morning. Basic information's gonna be discussed about safety. Are you gonna be there, Chief?
Yes, I am.
So he's gonna be there as well.
Is this for the kids?
Yeah.
Or for the adults?
It's with the teachers.
Teachers?
Yeah, so every month we do a safety meeting there, and go over various things, any questions they have. And it just helps keep us all better prepared if we have an
Right, the
emergency.
same prior proper planning.
Yeah.
That's disposal.
So, and that's all I have.
Okay, good, thank you. Yeah, the thing is what you're doing is you're using the racetrack to practice your shuttle techniques.
Absolutely,
You
yeah.
can't do that on a well.
Right. And the other thing is Dan has, from the racetrack, has, donated to the Fireman's Fund.
Right.
So, he's doing his part. And I felt we should do our part and try to keep him going.
Yeah, really hope, we gotta help each other here. Okay, Paul, you're next.
Well, since we last met, we have finally completed all of Atwell Hill, gravelled right to the intersection of Cape Moonshine Road. In my opinion, is the road came out really, really good. It's in really good shape. Plenty of gravel on it. Should be good for quite a few years before we have to do much work to that road. Maybe some mud here and there, but other than that, we should be in good shape. In the last week and a half or so, we have really come into some issues with trucks and the grader and water pumps down to the shop and water tanks, and it just seemed like every morning I came in there was something new going on. So the grader is fixed. We pulled it, well, we didn't pull it out, we put it back in just for the night, but it is fixed and running and ready to go. Cost the town around $3,000, maybe $3,200 in parts. We did that ourselves. We did not have Kevin come in and do it because I felt our budget is starting to get,
You gotta be tight.
yeah. However, our international truck is really, really hurting again. It's got no power. You can hardly go up hills with it. Kevin has been in last week. He was in over the weekend looking at it on his computer. He's having a really, really tough time diagnosing what's going on with it. It's looking like it's a turbo and a dump valve system. These aren't regular turbos that you can send out to have rebuilt. These are electronic turbos, unfortunately. The problem he's having is it's electronic, something's going on. It's kind of the same deal that we had with our backhoe. Something's going on, we can't quite figure it out. He has been on the phone with International. I have been on the phone with International. We still have not got a complete diagnosis 100%. But I can tell you it's looking like it's going to cost between $3,000 and $8,000, somewhere in that price range, to get the parts to
That
fix
is
the
the
truck
number.
again.
Yeah, that truck, to me, that's a rabbit hole. We just poured money into that thing and it doesn't work for more than 2 weeks.
I completely understand. The work is nothing that I can do myself. It's all computer. You have
Yeah.
computers plugged in. So whatever the labor could be, anywhere from maybe $800 to $1,500 on top of that, and we still don't know. We still don't know exactly what's going on.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
he's,
personally, I have trouble spending a lot of money when we don't know which way we're going. Jeff?
Just question and maybe some information. Is there any anybody from International that can come out and plug in with International's programs?
International, Tim.
Okay,
It's a $500 service call and $118 an hour after that. So we're looking at a minimum of $618 to diagnose it.
in my mind,
Yep.
if you did that and it's coming right from International, then hopefully they'll be able to pinpoint the problem, and then yourself, the board can make a decision which direction they want to go based on that information.
Well, I was on the phone with a guy by the name of Zach this morning from International, and he was actually the Middleborough International down in Massachusetts, not the one in Manchester. And he told me, well, it sounds like he's done the right thing, is what he said. He's like, if it's in our shop, we're probably gonna throw a dump valve and a turbo in it. That's what he said. If that's what the computer is saying, however, there's some electronic issues going on that Kevin is still trying to trace grounds, make sure we've got good grounds, places.
What's Kevin think the probability of replacing those two parts and fixing the truck so it gets through the winter?
But there's no guarantee that truck gets through the winter after we fix it this time. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's,
I don't see
after being here for a year and a half and the money we put into that every few months, I would not guarantee that truck gets through the winter.
We spent half the value of the truck on repairs.
But Kevin said there's, in his mind, it's about a 70% chance he replaces those two things that it would be, you know, fixed. There's still a chance it could be the ECU on this thing.
He seems very level-headed.
So-
And I know there's no guarantees in life. Let me ask a question a different way. If you couldn't get this International going, since we're pouring good money after bad, what could you run the town with just one big truck and a little truck?
I don't think so. I think it's an impossibility. First of all, the amount of sand that you need to take to South Wentworth, the little truck wouldn't do it. You'd make 5, maybe 6
I'm
trips.
raising the question for
No.
YouTube people.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, just to do South Wentworth with a little truck, because wouldn't want to do this end of town with a little truck. It's too many hills.
Yeah.
I mean, you need 6 or at least 6 loads of sand just to do the roads once. Yeah, I would do without a little truck before I would do without a big truck in town.
Okay.
The unfortunate thing that you gotta understand is even in my budget this year that I've got a copy of it. I've been working on it feverishly. We're stuck with this truck. Even if the town meeting, they okay a truck and we buy a truck or rent a truck or lease a truck or however we may do,
Right.
we are stuck with this truck until at least next year at this time.
Because it's gonna take so much time.
It's
to
gonna
get a
take
new
so
truck.
long to get a truck there. You don't just go to the lot and buy one like you do a car. You order them, municipal, you order them. If we order it,
And how much time does it take once you put the order in to get a new truck?
well, Freightliner and International have told me that if we write a warrant article, say we write a warrant article in December,
Yeah.
give them a heads up and say, listen, we wrote a warrant article, one of them will order a truck then, because they can get rid of it if they had to.
Okay.
And even if we order it then, say December, after the warrant article is written up and okay
Yeah.
by the selectmen, we're still looking at maybe probably July, August, maybe beginning of September before we see the truck.
Okay.
And then that truck goes to get the bed put on it, the hydraulics put on it, the plow put on it, and we probably won't see the truck until the middle to end of October, possibly even November. We're stuck with that truck for another year. If this was spring right now, I would be willing to park that truck and deal with what we can for the summer, but my personal opinion is I'll
That's
take
what I'm
anybody's
looking for.
opinion.
Yeah.
I personally would not park one of these big trucks for the winter.
Okay. Jordan, any thoughts?
This is the last year of the lease on that truck?
Oh, no, this
No,
is the
wait,
other
this
truck.
was a select board decision where they leased it for X amount.
2017, they decided to
2017,
buy
yeah.
the truck instead of, because the lease was up.
So when do we own this truck?
Oh, we own it.
We
We own it now.
Oh, yeah, we've owned it.
Okay.
So in 2017, the decision was to buy it,
Mhm.
and then we owned all the repairs from then. Unfortunately, this truck is a limit,
Right.
and this is what we've got going on. Over?
You mentioned what, Freightliner and International, what are any other manufacturers on the market?
Yep, in the meeting we had a couple of weeks ago, we've pretty much gotten rid of Mac, we've gotten rid of Peterbilt, and we've gotten rid of Western Star because the prices were much higher. I mean, there's like a $6,000 or $7,000 difference between Freightliner and International, and once you get into Mac, Peterbilt, Western Star, you're up another $10,000 plus.
Now, the freight.
Follow up to that?
Say again?
Follow up to that,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
So, but if you spend another $10,000, does that give you a better quality truck? I mean, you probably, again, as the chairman said, there's no guarantees in life, but, you know, the better quality, and I think the other issue is proper maintenance. Properly taking care of these vehicles, you know, changing the oil, doing whatever, all the other things, greasing it,
Yeah.
doing all the other things that,
Yeah,
you know, we learned growing up.
the bottom line with the International is it's got a max force motor in it. They're no good. International almost went bankrupt with these. They filed for bankruptcy in 2016 because of these motors. These motors aren't even made anymore.
And then we bought the machine.
I mean, they're gone. They don't even make them
I mean,
anymore.
that's hindsight.
Now, Peter, my opinion is, Jeff can probably help me out here, but Mac, Western Star, and Peterbilt, you're paying for the name. They all pretty much have the same motor, transmission, drivetrain. They really, I mean, that's just my opinion. I think you're paying for the name more than you're paying for anything else.
What do you think, Jeff? What's your opinion
Um,
on truck brands?
I believe Paul is correct in some of those statements. The only thing that I would want to do is look at tensile strength of frames.
Right.
You know, the structural build of Mac versus Peterbilt or whoever else. You know, all that stuff needs to come into play, and I'm sure that you guys have probably
Well,
looked
he's
at it.
got a committee, and
Yeah.
they're
No, we
answering
are.
those questions. And, you know, Freightliner comes out of Lebanon. It's- Okay, so that's local. You gotta realize when we have problems,
Right. you need to-
international, we gotta go, it's an employee offline. He's gotta drive the truck down there,
Right.
back. We're losing days of work, and we gotta travel. So, go ahead, I'm sorry. I'm just-
No, that's okay. I just want to let you know. I mean, I actually get Kevin Knapp, who works on heavy equipment, trucks, everything. I asked him, I said, out of these 5 or 6 manufacturers, honestly, what would you buy? And he said, I'd put them all in a hat, shake them up, and pick one, because that's how I feel about all of them. He's like, they all have problems and troubles, because they're all electronic now.
Yeah. Well, I'd buy one where you had good access to where you gotta get it fixed, number one, and Omer's point on preventive maintenance.
Yeah.
That's something that you're doing right now, but you can't, you know, it's a lemon, you can only shine a lemon so much. So, do you need a motion to go ahead? Well, okay.
I will get a hold of, I'll send you guys an email when I know exactly what we need to order, and
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
I don't know a price right now, I really don't.
Okay, and how does this affect your overall budget for the rest of the year?
Actually, I guess
It's gonna
they,
be screwing it up pretty soon.
it's already, it's that and the backhoe are really over budget, but, I mean, it's not as bad as I really thought after Linda did it out today and I looked it over. I'm still in pretty good shape. We're like 77% through the year and I'm at like 84%, so I'm actually in good shape.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like I'm in pretty darn good shape. In the next couple of weeks, I'll let you know what happens. The other issue, water pump and the expansion tank at the shop. You guys familiar with this stuff? They've been there since, who knows, since the building was made. I don't know.
Yeah, Rick DeShano was telling me about it a little bit.
So I have called 4 different plumbers to, well, 5 if you want to consider Rick DeShano, because I knew him as a plumber. I haven't got a call back from one of them. This is since last Wednesday. Not one plumber has called me back.
So you need a plumber?
Rick DeShane got a hold of me today to see if I'd finally get it fixed. I told him no, I can't get a hold. Nobody wants to call me back. He told me he priced it. He'll price it out, and he will do the job through his
Business? Yeah, he's a
through-
plumber.
No, he's a plumber, but it's through his. It'll have to be through whatever
He's
Lake
licensed
Tarleton
in
Realty or whatever it is.
He's
that
licensed
I
down
don't
in
know.
Massachusetts.
Yeah, he's licensed. He's
Right.
so if you guys are okay with it, I'm guess I'd already priced out parts. I mean, we're looking at like $1,700 or $1,800 in parts alone for a pump and tank and gauges and the plumbing, all this stuff. Are you guys okay with Rick DeShane doing the job?
Plumber?
If you're happy with it.
Yeah,
I've got the pump hot wired right now.
No,
Did
it's
you try
good.
Monroe?
Huh?
Did you try Monroe?
I've tried Russell's Blodgett. I have tried
Because he
Hood
comes here.
in Haverhill. I've tried Swan Lake and Plumbing and Heating. I have called
Yeah, Monroe was right
Laney.
down.
Is his name Laney up in Dorchester?
Who, up in Dorchester?
Laney, I think his last name is. He does work. These guys are just busy. I know they are. Hanley. Yeah, Brad Hanley.
Brad Hanley.
So I've tried all these people. Yes, Monroe. Nobody calls back. All I want is to call and say I'm too busy, but I don't get it.
I think Brad's retired.
Brad, yeah, he's stopped working.
Oh, he did. I didn't know that.
Jordan, you got any thoughts?
Needs to get fixed, right?
Yeah, I've got it hot wired right now. So when we need water, I just plug it into the outlet and unplug it when we're done.
Well,
I have got it hot wired. You wouldn't want to see it.
I know Rick had been a plumber for like most of his life, so.
Say
I,
again?
I talked to Rick in the past about his plumbing experience. It seems quite vast. So, I mean, if there was a guy
Oh,
that
he
could really
is,
do it,
he
yeah.
is.
So,
I'll make a motion to allow Rick DeShane to do that work.
Second, I say yes.
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
The last thing I want to bring up to you guys is I was looking through our books of roads and whatnot, trying to figure out a couple of, I was basically looking through because we have some roads that I don't agree with, but that's besides the point. But I want the selectmen, and you may know this, I didn't know this. Do you know where the camp is at the top of Ellsworth Hill Road?
Campground?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So right there where the road ends at Class 5, we come around and there's like a turnaround up there.
Yes.
That road is a Class 5 road. From right there where I thought it was
Before the bridge.
No.
You
You
go across
go
the bridge?
across the bridge. Jordan's mother or grandmother or grandfather, somebody owns land up there. I looked on the tax property map. I don't know.
Yeah.
So the town is responsible. It's a Class 5 road. And that Class 5 road goes from right there where the turnaround is by the camp. The camp's here. That Class 5 road goes up 200 or 300 yards. That it's actually up to the town.
That's Batchelder Road.
It is the town. I've already looked into it. I don't know if anybody. It is Class 5 road up to the gate, or it splits off. I walked up there to look.
Okay.
The town is actually supposed to be taking care of that road. I'm not saying that we aren't, but there is some ditching work, and that's why I kind of looked into it. That it's washing the road out, coming down ours. It's actually our responsibility.
Okay, just so, go ahead, Jordan.
So I have most of the information on that. So years ago, my father looked into that because my grandmother and grandfather have a large piece of there.
Right.
And whether or not it fronted on a Class 6 or a Class 5 road.
This is the road that goes up to what Coleman's used to be?
Yeah, so it
Yeah.
splits right after Camp Victory.
Exactly.
There's a right and there's a left. So you go to
That's
the right, it
right,
goes
goes
up to
to
the
the right.
greens, and then
Yes.
it becomes Class 6.
Yeah.
But if you stay to the right, there's the McAllister camp. There's a red house
Yes.
up there, away, it's a few hundred yards.
Right.
And going off of what my father had told me, that he had looked into the old discontinuances and all that, and that was Class 5 to that McAllister camp. He brought that to the selectmen years ago.
Yeah.
I can't remember how many, 4 or 5, whatever it was. And he battled it out with Francis over whether or not that was Class 5 or not. my father went to Bobby Cass, who was the highway department.
Rudy.
He was done at the time, but he had just gotten done. And Bob signed a paper for my father saying the town did do maintenance on that section. They never plowed it or anything, but they did go through and do some ditching work, and each year they did it, because if you don't maintain a road for up, I think it's 5 years, it becomes class 6. And my father's opinion was, as the town was trying to forget a section of road for budgetary reasons, so
Yeah,
he
there's
went
a
and
camp,
got
there's
proof that
only
it had
one
been
camp
done.
on that road.
It's only a few hundred yards, and then
Right.
that's where it's
And
supposed to
then
end.
right after the camp is a little bridge, a little wooden bridge.
Yeah, and then it's class 6 all the way up. The Greens even have a section that's on class 6 that's gated,
Yes.
that no one's ever said a word about, but it's been gated forever. That's if you keep going.
Oh, wait a minute, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
on
it
the
goes
back-
out- you own land
It's
out
on the
there.
backside of my farm, right?
Yes,
Okay.
right.
So I'm just asking the selectmen, if you wanna walk out there, if you wanna research it and let me know, because there's some ditching work that needs to be done. And I don't wanna do it if it's not our job, but it needs to be done before it washes the road out more,
Yeah.
is what I'm saying.
I may have misunderstood how we got to this point, but is the ditching that needs to be done there affecting the main portion of your class 5?
Well, it's, yes.
Yeah.
So to my mind, even if it was a class 6 or a class 5, we have some type of obligation to protect our class 5.
Yeah, the thing is that if all that water that comes down there is gonna come right into the main trunk to higher ground, and that bridge, or this, I don't know if you got a bridge, big, it's a monster.
Correct. Yeah, it's been pulled out of there a couple
It's
times.
washed out a few
Twice, it's
times.
washed out twice.
Yeah.
Recently,
Recent.
Yeah, if I can remember, it's gotta be recent.
twice recently.
So, that's, I'm I was just asking if you guys knew. I think Jordan gave me more information than I even thought I knew.
Well, it's a matter of putting bars on that to get the water off the side of the road. And ditch
Yeah,
it.
kind of ditching the ditches so that the culvert actually takes the water. It's filled up with silt. I don't know how long it's been since anybody's been up there, but it's filled up with silt.
I think the last time they were logging up there was almost 15 years ago, 20 years ago.
So I guess I'm okay to go up there and do a little ditching work before we get snow and it all melts in the spring.
I'm not gonna vote, it's that class 5 section is the beginning of a family member's property. So and not that they're planning to build condos or anything like that, but eventually in the long term, whether or not a piece of land fronts on a class 5 road versus a class 6 road makes a big difference in value of property. So that's why my father was adamant about not letting the town forget that section, because that makes a big difference for that piece. And he got Bobby Cass to sign saying that he did do work and that it was class
Well,
5.
you're gonna lose, I'm familiar with the area, you're gonna lose that road, and it's gonna affect the culvert down, which is your point, Jeff. And we're talking about something like 150 yards?
A couple hundred yards.
I said a couple hundred. I walked up there the other day just because I wanted to know. It was more. It was further than I was thinking.
Yeah, 200 or more.
See,
I
and
said
then what
a good
happens-
200.
Yeah,
What happens is that's part of the Skeeterville Route 5.
yep.
And what happens is it gets packed down with the snow and a lot of frost heaves in there, so. What is, to ditch that, how much is it, like?
Well, I mean, I'm not even going to be a full day. I'm just going to go up. I mean, that's what I'm getting to. I was just going to go up and do where it starts to kind of silt up and come over into the road.
Yeah, I think.
But I mean, if the town owns the Class 5 road all the way up there, I guess it's our duty to make sure the road.
Well, there's a house there too.
Well, I just don't. I don't want to get in trouble for doing something on a Class 6 road because we have other people that live on Class 6 roads
Right.
that are going to get upset. So that's my whole point of coming to you, and I'm telling you, I did a little research, and I found out that that's actually a Class 5 road, and I was shocked to find that out. I'm glad Jordan had some more information on it, so.
I guess the question or discussion I want to have is, and I think you mentioned it, but I guess I'm not fully comprehending the whole picture. and maybe Chief Ames discussed it, but maintaining, I mean, I'm concerned about roads that only serve, and bridges that only serve one family, nothing of, and maybe they're only part-time. And so my question is, this stretch of road that you're talking about going up to maintain, maybe you mentioned it too, Mr. Chairman, how important is that to the overall safety maintenance of our lower road where more people are on, have access to, use on a daily basis?
Well,
It's gonna wash out the lower bridge, it's washed out twice.
It washes through the so there's a cul-de-sac right there. I don't know if you know where,
Yeah.
you've been up there.
Yeah.
So the road goes up here, and this is all a cul-de-sac here. So what's really happened is the water's been jumping the culverts, coming down the roads, and it washes all the gravel out of the cul-de-sac. So that's why I went up to see what I could do to help the water hit the culverts, go where it's supposed to go. And in my research, this is what I find out. So I am not here to make more work for myself. I'm here because there are other residents that live real close by on a class 6 road that are gonna say, if you're ditching on a class 6 road, my ditches need it.
Right.
So I just feel like I'm giving you guys a heads up that this is actually a class 5 road that I found out, and you're welcome to research it too. Maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't sound it.
No, if it's a class 5 road.
Then
it's
we're all
gonna be
set.
dealt with.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
the class 6 road, Ellsworth Hill is at the end of it, when it goes to the right, and
That's right.
continues over, that's class 6.
Right.
And that's the landowner's responsibility to deal with.
Okay. I'm all set.
Okay.
Thank you.
Before you go on, I was wondering if you wanted to say anything about your conversation with the governor at all.
Today?
Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to say anything to anybody or just
Okay.
about the conversation at all. Thanks.
Yeah, Omer and I met with Governor Sununu today, and we had a nice conversation. We brought up two things. The internet access in rural environments, particularly in Wentworth. It affects how we do our municipal operations. For example, Paul has been tasked by the state to GPS monitor all the culverts in town. That's about 360 culverts. And he doesn't have you can't do it with an iPhone here because you don't have the satellite coverage to do it. I brought up the point for virtual education with the COVID issue that we needed to improve things for education of our kids. And also Omar brought up the point that we can bring better businesses, attract better businesses into town if they could work remotely and have adequate internet connection. He understood. I don't think he was placating us. He had grants that he says are available to put new cell towers in, and it's just a matter of executing on it. He had 2 grants in the order of millions of dollars to put into the towers and upgraded the infrastructure. The next issue was that I talked to him about was the camper issue, with people moving into town, setting up campers and not having proper sewage, where Rebecca comes in. She's our health representative, and normally when you build a fixed structure, there has to be a sewage system that is okayed by the state. The state has rules for doing that. What people are doing are coming into town, buying larger pieces of property, putting multiple campers on it, and they don't have a defined way that's set for them to deal with the sewage. And he asked me to email him a proposal on what we need to do for the town and a plan, and I talked with the planning board. I sent them an email tonight to ask them to put something in order for us to present to him. Omar brought up the point that the legislative window, because this has to be done through the legislature, is closing on December 10th. And tonight, when I go home, I will make sure that they get that message. It's got to be done quickly. That's pretty much it. Anything else?
You covered it, Chairman, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to just remind people that December, when we're gonna put the warrants together, you guys know how to do this better than I do. But, you know, for your pump, you know, that's good that you get that warrant together and the warrant on the truck.
We'll, at our last committee meeting, I'll write up a warrant for everybody to look at and think, see if that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, when's your last committee meeting?
Let's see, our next one's October 19th. So the last one will probably be, I'm hoping to only do 3, so hopefully like around November 20th, right before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
If we need a 4th one just to finish up, I told everybody it'd just probably be a quick window, look over stuff. It could be like the 1st of December.
No, I went and sat in, almost gone and sat in, and I think you guys are making good progress, making good decisions. Anything else?
I mean, I don't know if you're open to public comment or anything, but,
Oh, yeah, that's the last step.
okay. We're,
We're, oh, wait a minute, I got one more thing before then. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Municipal aid grants and tax rate update, Linda.
Yeah, we
Thought you were gonna
received,
slide by.
the state had available a $20 million federal grant for municipal aid. And we got our portion this week, which was 14,000 and some odd.
Okay.
We got 16 last year, so it's pretty good, pretty consistent. So that's been deposited. And as I mentioned this morning, the DRA, Department of Revenue, has received all of our forms, and they're ready to start working on the tax rate. So I'm expecting to hear from them this week or next week to start to think about the tax rate, and we'll have to see what the involvement is. It's kind of a learning experience for us all.
And then, thank you. Then the other thing on old business was gravel pit.
Yep, so not a lot has progressed, I'm just refining what I think we need to do. It sounds more and more like with the highway department and everything, that raising a lot of money this spring for something extra may not be super great.
I have a little interesting tidbit for you about the gravel pit.
Yeah?
So, it's town-owned property, okay? Every town can have a borrow pit. So the town in the past has called that a borrow pit and not a gravel pit. The town can still access gravel from the borrow pit as long as we can get across the river without any permitting.
Really?
What's a borrow?
That is the God's honest truth. The town municipalities, there's a couple of different RSAs that don't have them right on me. I got into this conversation with the road agent from New Hampton. And he informed me to get a hold of the state if you want. But if we use that as a borrow pit, we don't have to replace anything. You don't need a license to have a gravel pit. It is considered a borrow pit. So I am guessing that's what the town did in the past, is they used it as a borrow pit.
But wouldn't a borrow pit not have crushers and things like that?
Well, you're not
Road.
gonna. You're not gonna. You can borrow like the gravel that's in there. You can take that and put it down for base material, but you cannot have.
You can't crush it and make it into anything.
Well, you can if you take it to the shop.
Take it somewhere else.
But I'm just putting that little bit of tidbit. Maybe you want to ask.
So what about the bridge? You gotta need a bridge.
Yeah, we have to get across it
That's
somehow or
still a tier
another.
3.
Huh?
That's still a tier 3 Baker River bridge.
And then I mean that might not be a great explanation. You might still need something that
Could we, I mean, can we put a logging bridge in?
I don't know.
Well, technically that's what it is, because it's not a town road, so.
Right.
It still has to be engineered and all the same, all the rest, but it's a lot cheaper than the town bridges.
Right.
it will still be very expensive, but much cheaper than the $800,000 bridges we've been building. Because it's not, it's only for the town, it's not for the general
So,
public.
you know, a logging bridge, can you put it for 50 grand?
That could be, or 75 or something like that, maybe get you in there.
I guess, I mean, I can't remember what the cost was for gravel in the past. I mean, I know you guys have spoken about maybe using Warren Sand and Gravel or other places to kind of borrow their crusher, I guess. I don't know if you truck that up there, what ultimately you'd save in buying gravel elsewhere and taking into account the actual overhead costs initially.
I gotta pass that on to Jordan.
You know, and then, you know, maybe you make that money up over time.
Yeah, so in my opinion, the town shouldn't own a gravel pit. We don't need to have crushers and equipment and employees and liability and permits along the river and this and that. In my opinion, we should prove we own it, which the first step, which is my suggestion, is just see if we can raise the money at town meeting for the survey, the deed research, and then a contingency to do like a topo survey to see how much gravel's actually there. That wouldn't be a massive expenditure. That would be a rate, you know, something smaller the town could afford this year. If that all pans out, then you go into the next year to figure out if we, you know, go through the bridge design and such. My ultimate goal is to prove that we can have a gravel pit or borrow pit that has value, that we can get the permit to cross the river, which we can, it happens, people do it. And if we can get that checklist, so we can try to sell it to one of these other bigger companies that want to own a
But
gravel pit.
if you do that, are you violating the bar? See, I don't know anything about the bar.
I'm just giving you the information. I gave you everything that I was told, and I haven't even really done much research except he gave me a couple of RSAs, and one of the RSAs for a road agent they are hired under that says you're allowed to take gravel from one area of town and use it on another area of town as long as you're not manipulating anybody else's property.
Right.
He said there's several RSAs. I don't know, maybe it's something you want to ask a municipal lawyer before I use anything that I said.
And any permit that we get, an actual gravel permit, is transferable. So we can go through the process and get the permit, we can go through and have HEB or whoever go through the checklist for the bridge. We don't even have to necessarily do all of it, we just need to have someone compile the checklist of, you know, everything, we have everything we need to get this permit or even get the permit, which then will take the value of nothing that it has been for 20 years and put it at a number that we can determine after they survey how much gravel's there. So I think it's still a couple-year project, especially with fiscal issues in this town, but I think for this year, we need to get the deed research done and then potentially have someone go in there and survey to see how much gravel's actually there.
Yeah.
That also is probably going to include, to go in there and survey that, I've walked across that river this summer, you can't see anything.
That's gonna be clear.
So if we do survey it and we do own it, I think before they go in and do the actual topo survey to see how much gravel's there, I think we're gonna have to hire someone to chip or, you know, the Brontosaurus hat, go through and open it up, because it just costs 10 times as much anyways to survey it when it's all thick with aspen and pine.
And what is that, a 14-acre lot?
It's, I think it's 16 on the tax map. The actual pit's probably smaller because you have to stay away from the river and everything, but still, that's it. I mean, a 10, 12 acre gravel pit opening is a pretty good size area. And I would think that having an actual permit, being near the river, is probably the way to go. And and again, it's transferable. And we don't need to own crushers and have employees.
Oh,
I don't think that we need to have any part of that, but we just need to establish that it's worth something.
I'm just looking at a check that the select board just signed off on tonight to Warren Sand and Gravel for gravel on Atwell Hill Road.
Yeah.
Check was for $18,054.
Well, is that $3,000 or is that Lloyd Bixby was separate?
Well, as I looked through the bills, it looked like it all said gravel Atwell Hill. Different.
Well, I was-
12 and 6, yes,
Yeah,
15,000.
And that's on
That was
top of
just
the
for-
5,000 that we,
And then the
a couple
ledge
weeks ago.
guy was
Omer's point
700.
is,
Yeah.
is that there is a price to the gravel we're using, and if we can use our own stuff, it's cheaper.
I think, I mean, we should definitely look into that.
So we wouldn't end up using our own gravel, because to do that, you have to have crushers,
Right.
and so
Right.
it would be selling
trade.
it and getting however many, whatever it's worth, and putting that into the general fund to then purchase gravel or whatever else the town decides they want
I
to
mean, you
use.
can sell, I mean, you probably get like $3 to $5 a yard for bony gravel, and then, but you, for road gravel, you're gonna get a whole different price, but it needs to go get processed.
yeah,
Yeah, you gotta have crushers.
I think to do, just to make it clear, to do Atwell Hill from the pavement end all the way to Cape Moonshine Road, I believe that's just over 2.5 mile stretch.
Yeah,
Okay, I believe it's cost the town about $27,000. And like I said, it's about $10,000, $10,000 to $12,000 a mile to gravel a road, depending on the width.
right. No, but that's the key to the town, if we have good gravel, good shaped roads,
Oh, yeah.
good water distribution, we're not gonna be chasing our tail with emergencies and blowouts.
Nope.
Okay. Public comments. Oh, yeah.
I just want to give an update on the broadband project that I'm working on.
Okay.
You know, I have a couple other folks on the committee as well, helping out as needed. But as of right now, basically just a couple days ago, I hit that 2-month mark on sending out the RFI documents to, which are requests for information documents, out
Yeah.
to Consolidated Communications and Charter. Consolidated was the only one that replied back, so Charter is basically out of the running at this point. Consolidated, I believe, based off of my research, would actually be a better choice anyways. So we're gonna continue on, and the next phase is the request for a proposal process, which is much more detailed, and we'll get back much more detailed information from Consolidated at that point, to put us in a good point to start opening up to the town and make sure the town understands what's going on, like public hearings, just going off of what Chesterfield and Westmoreland has done, because they fully utilize what ultimately came of Senate Bill 170, SB 170, and utilizing town-issued bonds to pay for the project. But obviously, based off of what you talked about with the governor, maybe some additional things that we can get there to maybe offset that a bit, which would ultimately cost the
Consolidated less.
well, consolidated less, and ultimately the payback of that bond or those bonds much less to whoever's subscribing to the service. Because ultimately, how the bonds would get paid back is whoever's subscribing to the service could be basically an additional fee. But there'll never be any tax rate increase in the town. That won't. I just want to make sure I reiterate that, because we brought that up before. That the taxes will not need to be increased at all, because this is all going to be
They're gonna get their money out of the fees for the user.
right.
User fees.
Exactly. So if you don't subscribe, you don't pay fees. If you but this is going to be a significant increase. I want to make sure people understand that the Consolidated Communications internet service that you have today is antiquated 90s technology DSL, and that is not what's going to be
Right.
brought in. It's going to be fiber optic cabling spread throughout the entire town. So.
What do they need? It's just hard fiber optic cable, or do
It's-
they need towers?
No, they're going to be utilizing the telephone poles that are out there. I'm not sure I don't know how the entire town power is distributed, as far as if there's underground cabling in a lot of places.
Most of it's above ground. It's locally to houses that's underground.
Okay. So ultimately, they're already running all their copper cabling throughout the town anyways. So I think it'd be a much easier process to get the fiber optic cabling
Okay.
in at that point. It ultimately it ended up costing like a town like Westmoreland, which is I think much higher populated town. I think it was around like $1.6 million, and I mean they may not have above ground or telephone poles everywhere to utilize. It probably costs a whole lot more to bury cable, I'm sure. But that's where we are in the process, and it's continuing on. We'll make sure we're ready for the town meeting and make sure that everyone's on board beforehand.
So you're gonna bring a warrant together?
Yeah, that's ultimately what we'll have to have happen.
Okay.
But I think the townspeople will be fully briefed and educated way before then.
Yeah, education and briefing and keep people up to date.
Right.
What you don't wanna do is hit people bam in March with
Mhm.
no forethought. That's why we're going through the mechanical committee
Right.
meetings, so the knowledge base of what we're
Mhm.
doing gets distributed.
Yeah, everyone will get fully educated. I'll give you an example of how the town like Westmoreland, they educated their people so well that they had I think a 99% approval rate of the warrant article. I think there was a total of maybe 6 people in town that
Do
didn't
you
vote
have
for it.
specific ideas on how to educate people in work?
I have I can't tell you specifically how we do it right now beyond public hearings and a survey that will ultimately go out. But the public hearings, we'd ultimately invite consolidated communication in to brief everyone. You know, maybe we can do something. We could do something online. I don't know if we could utilize the school, but we'll definitely make sure everyone's fully educated on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Elmer, thoughts?
No?
Remember, I'm a Luddite. This is all new to me, okay?
Okay.
And Luddite is not a religion. It's someone who has a hard time with technology. So
So just let me know if you if you have any questions though.
I will, Andy.
Ballpark, I'm sure you don't know the answer,
Mm.
but ballpark, what would somebody pay per month for this broadband service?
It's anywhere. So to give you an idea of what it's what sort of speeds you're getting right now, I just want to make sure I preface what I say. The speeds that you typically will get in town for the DSL service through Consolidated
I
right now.
have them, that's exactly what I have.
So extremely slow. It's not even broadband speed at all. The 100% of town Consolidated does not have broadband communication in town. So this fiber optic cabling will increase the speeds from, I think the highest speed you can get in town is anywhere between 22 megabits per second down, and I think about 1 or 2 megabits per second up.
Yeah, mine's 7.1, I think.
So I was talking about the max. The average is a whole lot lower. What we're talking about with fiber is 1,000 megabits per second down and 1,000 megabits per second up, and that's fiber optic cabling, much less susceptible to interference, like copper cabling is. So it's much more reliable.
Is that gonna be like $200 a month?
So no, so the cost difference is actually is very small. It'll be I believe it's a slight increase in what the old DSL service is and what the fiber optic cabling service is. I think it's anywhere between like $60 and $80 a month.
That's even with paying like the fees, because if you
The-
do municipal bond, you're
The
Buy into
fee,
it.
the fee, I don't know what the fee exactly would be because it's based off of what has to be issued for the bond. But Westmoreland ultimately had a fee of about $15 per month.
So they're looking at something at like $75 to $90 total for this type of
Possibly,
service,
I
something
can't.
like
I'm
that?
not. Don't
I'm
quote me on
talking
it.
George,
But it's quite possible. It's
Yeah, I'm just,
it's quite possible. But you know, even if it's I think a little bit more, the economical impact and so on will be, I think, huge for everybody in town.
no, my wife is online teaching
Mhm.
and she's doing everything through Zoom. And we have, what is it, 1 megabyte of uploading through Zoom, which is not enough?
I know there will be choices as well, so you don't necessarily have to, I'm pretty sure you won't necessarily have to go with a top tier. But I'm sure there'll be, lower price packages as well.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. 'cause
In Consolidated, we'll talk about that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
well,
Any other comments? Well, I move to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second that.
I vote yes.
Yes,
I vote yes.
okay. Thanks, everyone.